When we're ready to print or export an InDesign file, it's important to go over some pre-flighting options. And in this section, I'm not going to go over some of the color considerations we already covered in the previous section on advanced color considerations. For example, adding unnamed colors to swatches, converting spot colors to process, adjusting swatches to CMYK or RGB depending on the output, and also the ink manager and ink aliasing if we needed to do that before we printed or exported. So go over those video lessons. We won't be going too into detail on those techniques because I don't want to be redundant. We will be covering a few color considerations we didn't cover earlier though. Now before we use the pre-flight panel and look at managing links, we need to manually proof as well. So spell check is useful in InDesign and we have a previous lesson on that as well, but it's really important to print it out and look at it on paper or look at it on the screen and have someone copy edit our publications. So even if it's just a restaurant menu you're designing for a client, or you're working at a magazine and you have a full-time copy editor, either way, those products need to be copy edited because InDesign will not catch everything. Sometimes words are correctly spelled, but the grammar's off, and it doesn't catch all of those grammatical errors. And of course, we can also go to type and find font and review what fonts we're using in our publication. If you have a style guide at your publication and they specify certain fonts to use, and if we have fonts that aren't in our style guide and you're not sure where they are, it will give the information down here. Just click more info if that's not showing up. And you can select that and it will tell us on what page it is. You can go to find first and it will navigate to that page. And then we can change it to a specific font down here if we need to. And sometimes they could be on text, but sometimes they might just be on a punctuation mark or a blank space. And in those instances, we could adjust that here. Another thing to go over when we're manually proofing is to look and make sure that our photos and our shapes go to the edge of the bleed. So for example, this photo goes all the way to the bleed past the edge of the page because the eventual purpose here is to print and not just share it online as a PDF. Now, if it was just a PDF and we designed right to the edge there, that would be fine. But if it is printing, we need to make sure shapes and photos go to the edge of that bleed and not just the edge of the page. And just look through and make sure you don't have any text on top of other text or that's too close to other elements as far as proximity, effective spacing, consistent spacing, and alignment and using a grid. We can use guides by hovering over the ruler here. If we don't have that, just go to View, then Show Rulers, or Control or Command R, and click and drag from a ruler here, and we can pull those out and make sure we have our elements aligned. So we're applying those alignment and proximity design principles, and a balance between consistency, repetition, and variety and contrast. So those are things that InDesign can assist with guides and smart guides, but we need to really manually review those things in the file. Next, we'll be going over the pre-flight panel and managing links, and InDesign can really help us make sure our files are ready to go to print or exported to PDF. Thanks.